Welcome to Fred Talks. So I want to give you a few examples now of preaching ideas or big ideas for the preaching of the passages. So I'm going to give you these without any exegetical background. So I'm kind of giving you the finished product here. But the idea is hopefully you'll catch what I'm doing. And I'll make a few comments on what I've done just as we move along. So, Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. Here's my big idea for Psalm 23. Every sheep needs a shepherd. Every soul needs a savior. That's my big idea. Now let me unpack that a little bit. Okay. First of all, I'm making use of kind of like parallelism here. This and then this. So every sheep needs a shepherd. Fair enough. Every soul needs a savior. I'm also making use of alliteration. So we have sheep, shepherd, soul, savior. All of these little devices help it stick, make it a little bit more memorable for the listener, but also for the preacher. So that's Psalm 23. Now let me give you another example. Here's Psalm 1. Psalm 1, blessed are those who do not walk in the way of sinners, but they delight in the Lord and follow his law, meditate on his law. Here's my big idea, my preaching idea for Psalm 1. People are looking for happiness, but what they really need is holiness. And then I reduce that down to even shorter form, and it says this: holiness leads to happiness. Holiness leads to happiness. Just 4 words, and that's a memorable big idea. And notice again, the alliteration, holiness and happiness. Okay, let's move on. I've got a few more to share with you. 1 Corinthians chapter 8. Paul is talking about, should I eat meat that's been offered to idols? What if it causes someone to stumble? And the subject goes something like this: how do we exercise our liberty in the Christian community? And the compliment would be, well, we have to be sensitive to the weaker brother or sister. We have freedom, we have liberty, but we have to restrain the exercise of our liberty because of the weaker brother or sister. So here's my big idea. Christian liberty is always limited by love. Christian liberty is always limited by love. I think that's 7 words. So you can repeat that just by saying, liberty is limited by love. Liberty is limited by love. It's really important, by the way, to repeat your big idea 3, 4, 5 times during your sermon so it really sticks with your listeners. Here's another one. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, Paul is preaching about building the church, building on the foundation of Christ, and what material will we use in the building of the church? Wood, hay, and straw, or gold, silver, and precious stones. So here's my big idea. God gave his best. Let's give our best. God gave his best. Let's give our best. Short, parallels, what God gives and now what we give in response. It's true to the gospel. So that's 1 Corinthians chapter 3. Here's another couple of examples. The story of Jesus meeting Zacchaeus in Luke 19. Subject: why did the Son of Man come? Compliment: the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. Well, let me just add to that a little detail, because that comes right out of verse 10. But the passage, as you unpack it, there were a lot of lost people there in Jericho, but Jesus only really zeroed in on one. Why? Because the other people were self-righteous. They didn't think they were lost. So when Jesus goes to meet with Zacchaeus, they say he's gone to be the guest of a sinner. In other words, we're not sinners. We're good people. We're nice people. Zacchaeus, now he's the sinner. So here's my big idea. The Son of Man came to seek and to save lost people who know and recognize that they're lost. Let me reduce it a little shorter now. Jesus came to save lost people who are willing to admit they're lost. I can reduce it even further for the sake of clarity and repetition. Jesus came to seek and to save the lost. One more example. This is from Acts chapter 3, where Peter and John heal the lame man at the gate of the temple. Without a whole lot of commentary, I'll just give you my big idea. Healing happens when God speaks and his people obey. Healing happens when God speaks and his people obey. So, just in conclusion now, those are a few preaching ideas. I'm trying to show you one sentence that you're going to repeat 3, 4, 5 times in your sermon. It's got to be short. It's got to be rooted in the text. It's got to sound good in the ear of your listeners. This is Fred, and thanks for listening to Fred Talks.